Pinnacles National Park Ranger Station is just 10 miles inland from the sleepy agricultural town of Soledad, hunkered along US 101. I was en route to the West Pinnacles Ranger Station to meet National Park Ranger Lupe Zaragoza. I drove along the narrow country lane that undulates across the dipping and rising Gavilon foothills. I passed a decrepit ranch house here and there with abandoned cattle chutes, long neglected grazing land, splayed and tilted redwood barns, and decaying machine sheds. But mostly it's just wild California chaparral out here. Blue oaks, leaning gray pines, and manzanita, with the scent of wild anise and sage wafting in through the open car window. And then at about the 8-mile marker, as I topped the apex of a sharp rise, the mid-distance was framed by the Pinnacles, discordantly frozen in mid-thrust, rising out of the rolling hills, sharp and craggy, finger-like volcanic spires and domes that thrust up from the soil hundreds of feet skyward, reminding me of a volcanic version of the Emerald City. I'm Tom Wilmer. Come along and join me for a hike through the Pinnacles with National Park Ranger Lupe Zaragoza. Here we are, 10-12 miles east of Soledad.
Yes, we are about 20 minutes away from Soledad. We are both in Monterey and San Benito County.
Plank right on the line, then.
Yes, the county line runs right through us.
Start back in time. The Pinnacles is a geological formation that's quite dramatic and surprising, and an anomaly from a geological standpoint.
Yes, it is. The Pinnacles is a unique formation surrounded by these hills, unique to the area. It doesn't look like anything around it.
Thrusting out of these grasslands are jagged spires. And are those volcanic outcroppings?
The Pinnacles that you see are the ancient remains of a volcanic field that originated near present-day Los Angeles, California. The San Andreas Fault split the volcanic field, and as one of the plates, the Pacific Plate, moved northwest, it tore the volcanic field in two. So millions of years later, you have what we know today as Pinnacles National Park, about 200 miles northwest of its birthplace. Half of the Pinnacles Nenach Formation, part of it is up here. The other half is near Lancaster, California, and it's known as the Nenach Formation. That part has been severely eroded away and doesn't look like the Pinnacles that we know today.
But yet you could take a rock from here and put it side by side with one of the rocks from Lancaster, and they would match.
Yes, they would. It's similar like a fingerprint torn in half. You could get the rock from either side, and they would be very similar in chemical structure.
Give us a word picture.
My experience working at Pinnacles is that it's very subject to the season. Visiting the park in the spring may be drastically different as visiting it in, say, the autumn. Even the difference between day and night is completely different.
There's a cave trail on this side, on the west side, isn't there?
Yes. There are two sets of caves at Pinnacles, and they're both easily accessible from either side of the park. The west side of the park, the side of the park I work at, we have the Balconies Trail, which takes you through the Balconies Cave. I like to envision myself as if I'm walking through the land of the giant pebbles, because when you're walking through the canyons, you have a view of giant boulders that have just wedged themselves in so tightly in between these rocks, these canyon walls, and they make you feel really tiny.
And how about birding? Do birders come out here?
Yes, and condors are especially on their list.
The rare California condor, with wingspans of 9.5 feet, often circle above the Pinnacle peaks, traveling in excess of 55 miles per hour as they soar on thermal updrafts, sometimes reaching altitudes in excess of 15,000 feet.
Other birds are some of our orioles that we have. We have the acorn woodpecker, which from the east side, there's an abundant amount of acorn woodpeckers. Camping is available on Pinnacle's east entrance. At the Pinnacle campground, there is a separate camping fee in addition to the entrance fee.
Lupe, thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
I'm Tom Wilmer reporting from Pinnacles National Park near Soledad and King City, California, where we've been visiting and hiking with National Park Ranger Lupe Zaragoza.